backstory, I was a manager. I'm the one that brought the lawsuit along with members of my family to include my late grandmother to quiet a title, and at the end of that lawsuit was that, well, I didn't say the end of it, but out of court there came an agreement that I will become one of the managers. What's going on, everyone? King here, back for another video. So it's been some time since I've been on the property and actually covered the topic of the heir property, and as well as my experience in dealing with the legal issues and the family, everything else. So I think I want to take this time in this video to give an update of what's been going on for the last few months, because things are definitely heating up. Families are getting more involved. Members of the family that are heirs are getting more involved, or coming around and paying attention to things that are going on. I've spoken with family members, those being the elder cousins, right? The living great-grandchildren of Toby Cox, as well as the living grandchildren of Washington James, right? That represent my grandfather's side and my grandmother's side. So as you see behind me is the sign for the Washington James estate. I'm on the property right now. I'm actually in the road leading into the woods, so to speak. So I'm here to basically look around, record what's going on, what I see on the property, and really have a conversation about what's going on. Basically give you, the viewers, and everybody else, an update with the heir property and family and whatnot. So let's go. Wow. I am standing on a bridge crossing the Toby Creek. There's a Toby Creek behind me right here. There's a Toby Creek on both sides. And the last time I was here, the water was high. It was higher. It probably was like right there where that log is at. The water was high. It was pushing up against the bridge. Matter of fact, actually, one of the times that I've driven on this side of the road there, it was flooded, and I actually got stuck. I got stuck on this side of the road where the mud was at, on the embankment there. Yeah, there was, instead of being in the middle, the water's pretty high. Like, it got up to like the floorboards of my Jeep here. But yeah, this road was flooded. At some points it was flooded. The river was overflowing. I mean, the creek and the Petey River is right there. You can't see it, but on the other side of these trees, probably good a few hundred yards, is the Petey River, which feeds into this creek right here. But anyway, so the purpose of this video, right, that things are heating up. Family are becoming more aware of what's going on. They come into the meetings, the heir property meetings, and they're speaking up. They're asking the right questions, even though now their questions are being answered, and people are, I say people, those that claim to have heirship to the property, rights to the property, interest in the property, whatever the case may be, are behind the scenes, running off their mouth, talking trash, spreading lies, especially about me and my mother, our involvement in our family, and yada, yada, yada. I mean, this is a different fight. This is not a physical fight, but a legal fight. This is not like what you see that's going right now in the media. For, one story of the elderly lady in Hilton Head. She goes by the name of Josephine Wright. Her and her family are in a different legal fight to preserve and protect their property against big corporations, against big business, or in this case, against a real estate land developer who's trying to develop a plot of land to turn into, commercial housing, whatever case may be, as well as her one tract of land, 1 acre tract of land is stopping for them having all the land in the surrounding area, right? Because her property sits at the interest point of the property, commercial property, that development they're trying to, or not trying, but they're building up right there. So it's a different fight. If you follow that story, I can leave a link to the description below. But basically, it's her and her family, her heirs, her children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, fighting to preserve and protect their property. She also created, well, I said her, but I think her grandchild or somebody, created a GoFundMe account to help fund the legal fight, as well as to establish a trust for their property, in which, it makes sense. It needs to be done, because what better way to preserve your property than use the legal tools that are available to do so? Because granted, there's going to be people out there, such as the land developers, real estate agents, and people that own property, whoever, are going to use the legal tool, land, right, against people who own the land, right? But in my case, this is heir property. Her property may not be heir property, but this is heir property, right? So I mean that there's multiple people that own this property. And how does it come to be heir property? If you see my other videos, and I will leave a link to those videos too, where I talk about what is heir property. I talk about who is an heir, what's the definition of heir, and who are heirs based on those definitions, right? If you can trace your lineage back to the original owners of the property, whether it be your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, whoever the case may be, whenever that property was purchased and their name is on the original deeds of the property, is recorded, right? And they're now deceased and you're surviving them, you survived them, whether it's written down or not, right? You are their heir, right? You are a descendant of them. So they own that property. They're no longer alive, so it passes down to you and to your family members, right? So it becomes heir property. In this case, there was multiple owners of this property, right? It's been going on for decades. Washington James, who was on my grandfather's side, who was my grandfather's grandfather, would be my second great-grandfather, and Toby Cox, who was my third great-grandfather, who was my grandmother's grandfather, my grandmother's great-grandfather, her grandfather being Papa Sim, which is one of his children, one of Toby Cox's children, right? So, I mean, this was back in the 1800s. Late 1800s, after slavery was over and they were freed, right? And they were able to purchase property. And the 1900s came about, right? My grandmother's generation, and then my mother's generation, then my generation, and now the current generation. So 4 generations have passed, right? Or currently we're 4 generations in, right? I mean, this is heir property because they died without a will. They died without having a legal document naming who their heirs are, and who should inherit this property. So as time went on, as a generation died off, this exact same thing happened. They didn't have a will. They didn't have the legal document naming who their heirs were. That's how it became an heir's property. And it was not recorded as to who were the new owners and heirs of the property, which is the reason why that you have the probate process, which is anywhere from 0 to 10 years, right? So 0 year to 10 years, right? So months or days after a person who owned the property deceases, right? After 10 years, can you go through the probate process? And then past those 10 years, guess what you gotta do? This is according to my research, my understanding of the law in here in South Carolina. Each state might be different, but here in South Carolina, it was explained to me by hiring 2 separate lawyers now. Actually 3 lawyers. I had 3 lawyers in the last 7 years. That explain things. And even I've attended the Center for Heirs Properties presentations, their seminars and workshops, where explaining all this stuff. Their legal staff, their attorneys on staff have spoken at these seminars explaining what I'm saying here today. Granted, I'm no attorney. I'm not a lawyer. And I've not played one in my life. Even though I probably should be one, on taking the steps to become a lawyer, but I'm not, it's ridiculous that the information is out there and people are not listening and not hearing to it for whatever reason. The laws of law, rules and laws are established for a reason. And a lot of these rules and laws affect the black community, heir property. People are using these rules and laws to acquire heir property. right, to file these lawsuits against, for instance, Mr. Josephine Wright, or the family that was in the documentary by Vice News of them losing their land, the Lewises, lost a 400-acre tract of land because they failed to pay the taxes, because the land developer acquired the land bit by bit until he owned 20-25% share of the property, and then forced to sell on it. That's why rules and laws are matter, and people need to pay attention and understand how the rules and laws are used against people, for property, especially in the black community, heir property. All right, so I explained all that. I explained what's an heir, what is an heir, what's the definition of heir, who are heirs, and whatnot. Right, but the legal fight is heating up. We're gaining some traction now. Granted, it's been 2 years, nearly 2 years since the lawsuit was filed in this case, but again, it's been since 2017. So from 2017 to 2020 was the first lawsuit that was part of where I was a plaintiff and I brought forth the lawsuit to acquire a title. And now people are members of my family who were involved in that lawsuit, right? Two of my mother's siblings are sitting there saying that, well, you know, he is not an heir because his mother's still alive. Even though in court, the judge, the special referee who acted as a judge in this case, made a statement and said, well, that may be true, but he does have an interest in the property even though his mother's still alive. So upon her death, he would inherit a share of the property. So I invested my time, energy, and money into ensuring that this land was preserved and protected, that we follow the letter of the law, to identify who were the heirs of property. Because yeah, people that were living on the land, and people that were suing my family members, two of my mother's siblings, my grandmother's living siblings, now she's deceased now, but at the time it was two of her living children were being sued for their involvement. So I had to switch cameras, my battery died, so I'm trying a new camera here. But what I was saying, that two of my grandmother's living children, right, who are my aunts and uncles, my mother's brother and sister, were being sued for their involvement. They were accused of conspiring to steal the property or take control of the property, as well as convert the land and its assets into their name, which is not true, because they hired an attorney to start the process to acquire a title, which I did. Right? They used the heir property's money to do so. It came from the bank account, where I used my own personal money. Right? I used my personal money, right? Wrote a check to the attorney, as well as I used my own personal money to help pay the property taxes. Right? These are things that I've done to ensure that my family, right, members of my family on both sides of the family tree, the James side and the Cox side, had their rights preserved and protected, that they were identified as to being heirs of this estate, to being part of this estate. Because again, the original owners of the properties died off without having a living will, without naming who their children were. And you got individuals that have been living on this property, as well as were involved in that first lawsuit to sue my family, were not even proving that they were heirs. So how can you file a lawsuit against somebody, right, claiming that you have rights to the property, and you yourself didn't provide the evidence against those that you're suing? At no point in time did they provide evidence. So from 2011 to 2015, they provided no evidence other than, words on paper that they had rights to the property, interest in the property. Where's the evidence at? Where's the birth certificates? Where's the death certificates? Where's the marriage licenses? Where's the obituaries? Where's the photographs? Where's the newspaper clippings? Where's the census reports? Where's the documented evidence that say that you are heir to a property, and yet you're suing people who are known to be heirs to a property by oral history? You claim to be heir, but yet where's the evidence? And so when I got involved, I filed a lawsuit to acquire a title. And even then, they provided zero evidence. No birth certificates, no death certificates, no marriage licenses, no obituaries, no photographs, no census reports, no documents to support their claim, other than putting their names on paper, their family, so-called family tree on paper, to say that, yeah, we're heirs. Okay. And nobody else come testify. Nobody else came to testify because people didn't want to get involved because they didn't want to. This is my interpretation. This is my assessment. I could be wrong, but they didn't want to hurt their feelings. Nobody wants to tell the truth. Everybody's under this mindset that we're all double dipped, that we all family. Prove that. Prove that. Being kin don't make you heir to property. Being a cousin does not make you heir to property if you cannot trace your lineage back to the original owners. Huh? My cousin, a cousin of mine, is not my mother's and my father's heir. I'm their heir. And they can't claim to be. They can't claim that to be. Especially if my parents did not leave them in a will. They are not heirs. They do not have rights to their estate. They don't have rights to what my mother and father own, right? Own on this earth. Their vehicles, the money in the bank accounts, their homes, their clothes, whatever case may be, their assets, they do not own it. So no cousin, nobody else has a right to claim ownership of any property or any estate if they're not, by definition, a legal heir, or they're not named in a will to be such. So anyway, so I'm going to continue on. I was kind of long with that, but yeah, this is where we're at. So hopefully things will continue to ramp up and speed up, and things are going to get done, and family members are going to pay attention. But let's continue on and see what's going on this property. I've showed this in my other video where I was, again, when it was flooding here, and I walked up this side here. You can see it in the video. It shows up on the camera in the video. But I walked to this side here. This was like the on and off ramp of the road that was going over, like an overpass, going towards maybe Marion or other cities or counties in that direction here, because this road here, the main highway that comes from Florence to Marion, was not here per se. Like they had this road here that I'm on now that went over the river. Like there was a ferry, if you will, up the way there. You've seen other videos, you know what I'm talking about, but it was a ferry. So this was a roadway going towards Marion and other cities or small towns. But this looks like this is a waterway too. It used to be a small river or creek used to be here. At one point this was flooded too. I've been down there. As I linked before in other videos, that people were hunting, put up their deer stands or deer corn there, had corn to attract the boar or deer. So there's a lot of hunting going on here. Well, let's continue on. Okay, so now I stopped here at like the dead end, so to speak, of this road leading to the woods. Like back there, essentially, and I covered this in another video, at least two videos where I walked back there. This is where the ferry was. You keep walking through probably good two football fields length or three, goes into a ravine where there's water there, because the PD River is right here. Like I said, right here, but a few hundred yards that way is the PD River. So that PD River ran into the ravine there, and that's where they had their ferry back there. The ferry people cross the river and along this road. So this used to be all plantation. There's another sign that says Washington James Plantation Estates. Granted, that's not the official name that's recorded on the deed, but it is what it is. And you see that there's bricks, remnants of road construction, because 2017, 18, I believe, probably, I can't remember, when Hurricane Florence or Storm Florence came through, it collapsed the road due to the flooding and the trees falling down and whatnot, that it collapsed the road. Two parts of the road left two big old craters. I got videos to show it. I think I showed it in other videos, but this is the remnants of that. You see that there's a lot of overgrowth over the years that, due to the amount of rain and the lack of upkeep, that the trees keep on falling down. The sign falls down. There's trees. There's a tree, a big log right there, a fallen tree right there. And a lot of overgrowth has continued to really affect the natural environment of this property. And it's really time to cut the timber, because I don't know when the actual last time the timber was cut, probably in the 80s or in the late 70s, early 80s, or even the 90s, maybe so. I was, a teenager at the time, between the 80s and 90s. I was a preteen to a teenager at the time. But yeah, I mean, it's time. But with all the legal issues going on, the legal fight of who is heirs and who is not heirs, the cut timber will be bad at this point, because then those that are rightfully heirs to property could sue the estate and sue the individuals for their share of the proceeds, or the profits, or the money that was generated from that timber contract or cutting timber. But backstory: I was a manager. I'm the one that brought the lawsuit along with members of my family, to include my late grandmother, to quiet a title, and at the end of that lawsuit was that, well, I didn't say the end of it, but out of court there came an agreement that I will become one of the managers. There'll be 5 managers to help manage this property until we establish a more permanent board, which we did. However, that again, because of people questioning who are heirs and who are not heirs, and the whole rigmarole, the fallout, the backlash of trying to go to court, not say trying, but going to court to quiet a title to determine who are heirs of property, people were up in arms about the order and accused me of lying and committing fraud and everything else, that people that were known not to be heirs, or they alleged to have interest in the property, became officers on the board, and I became the assistant secretary. But as time went on, in that first few months, members of the board who were elected to the positions, who claimed to be heirs of property or have some kind of interest in the property, started to not follow the bylaws, started to not follow the rules and do what they want to do, not being fully transparent, open, honest. Again, people can deny it all they want, but I was involved in the meetings, the board meetings and state meetings, and I know firsthand, so people can say whatever they want to say. They can deny all they want. We'll do that in court. But, a lot of things were happening, and they voted me off the board improperly. This, meaning that I did not receive notification. I was not getting notification that I was going to be removed from the board, and it did so in retaliation. Now, this is my word, but it's in the complaint, in retaliation, because of I filed the complaint against them. Well, leading up to that was the cease and desist letter that they were served by my attorney to them, followed by the lawsuit, the complaint. So they removed me from a position as a form of retaliation, because they said I violated the bylaws. Well, here it is. Fast forward to now, there's evidence after evidence after evidence, of them violating the bylaws, not following the bylaws, not following rules and laws, not doing things proper, not being transparent and honest. Again, I wrote the bylaws, and I had the templates the original templates of me writing the bylaws, the different versions of the bylaws as we went through each of the articles, right, in pages and lines, and say yes or no, that we need this, no, we don't need that. So I have the versions of it. I have everything on video, in writing, soft copy, hard copy. So it is what it is. But anyway, so this, you see there's a lot of overgrowth here. This property needs to be well managed. And you see, if you recall from other videos, like some yards that way, probably like 40, 50 yards that way, there was a tree that fell down. Now it's cut in half, so that we continue walkway. But we are leasing this property for hunting, to generate some kind of revenue. even though that the actions of the board is questionable as far as how they entered into a contract. Because when I was a manager, I actually had everything in writing. I was not going to do something in writing that was not in writing. Everything I've done, there is records of it. Meetings I've conducted with other managers and other people, there is a record of it. Whether it's in a hard copy, a soft copy, a audio recording, a video recording, I have records of it to keep myself honest, to keep everybody else honest. And I think that's what the problem is. The problem is that people do not want to be honest, for whatever reason. They want no record of the things that they said and done. Like, they take offense to it. I don't know why. How can you make decisions about something that's affecting everybody and you want no record of it? The government does not do that. The Senate and Congress, right? The senators and the House of Representatives, everything is on record. Every vote for an action, they're voting for Speaker of the House, it's on record. Now in modern technology, we have video and audio recordings of them from their seats, from their whatever position they're coming from. They're saying yay or nay for a candidate, for a bill. But yet we got members of my family, members of the board, do not want to be on record of taking a vote or recording something or making a decision about something. Why is that? How can you issue a hunting lease to somebody, to a hunting club, and not have it on record? Not having their name, their signature, the date that it was entered into a record, or the date the lease was assigned. It's not on record. Why is that? What's the problem? What's the issue? Keep everybody honest. The things been going on for so long that people don't want to do the right things. That's what it comes down to. And even Papa Sim said that in an article about him in 1974, December, I forget what day it was, when the article was published, but in 1974, the article was published, and he said the exact same thing, that the now generation does not think of the right things. And it's very much true today. Very much true today. And I'll show that article. I've shown it in other videos. But I'm continuing to go down this path here, this roadway here, to see what's going on. And then I'll wrap up this video and go be with my family, talk to my family. Okay, continue on. So right now I'm still on the road that's leading into the woods. I believe this road is called Southcarolina. But anyway, so what you see behind me is where me and my mother came out here, and we marked off this area here because as far as we understand it, based on the headstones, this is where some of the original owners and their families were buried here. Or people that lived on the land during that time the original owners were alive, such as my second great grandfather Washington James and Toby Cox and his wife and their children and everything else. So some of our family members, or their family members, whoever, is buried back here. Granted, not all the headstones are visible. Some are visible, some are not visible. So I just wanted to mark off this area to at least try to, identify that this is a cemetery. Granted, it's not on the property map, and maybe at some point we'll get that done. I don't know when. Hopefully the family can come together and agree that it needs to be done to where we can get it identified and have a team of people, some kind of maybe non-profit organization, whoever, can come out and mark this area on the property to get it registered as a family cemetery, as a private cemetery. So that we have some kind of added protection for the property, right? And probably even have tax benefits. But this is the things I'm talking about here is people littering. The time that I came out here, granted, it's been months between the time that I initially did this and spray painted the paint on there for no trespass and put the caution tape up. And since then, trees have fallen. Like this dead tree here is fallen. a lot of overgrowth, you know, that's going on due to the rain, the amount of rain that we as a state of South Carolina has had over the months, being hurricane season and whatnot. But now we're moving to the fall months, winter months, that not so much rain here during this season. So it's time for the, change it over the seasons. But I ran into the president of the hunting club. We had a conversation. They actually offered me some food and a drink, and we had a small, short conversation. But I guess I don't want to get into that conversation, talk about that. But we have some kind of understanding of what's going on and what's transpired and how things are supposed to be in regards to the hunting lease and hunting rights and everything else. This road right here, because we even got into a conversation about this road being a easement between, because it runs through our property, and you got another hunting club that uses this road, and you got people that live on this side of our property line, and their property line is back here too. So there's a lot of things that need to happen legally, that is, right, to identify the boundaries, identify who had access to this road, whether it be the county, the fire department, the sheriff, emergency services, the hunting clubs, the private residences. Like, there's a lot of things that go into this, that factor into all of this, and how to preserve and protect the property, and how to deal with property. Things that people need to consider too. You consider it, because if somebody just cuts a path through your property and you don't say nothing about it, and you don't identify, you don't address it, that person can claim easement rights, can claim half of your property, or whatever. Just so many factors, so many variables, man. Again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an attorney. Just people need to go do the research and understand, right, what things can happen, good, bad, or indifferent, right or wrong. People do things and not follow rules and laws, and don't think the rules and laws don't apply to them, and just out here saying things and doing things, and it's not benefiting everybody. Like, the rumor that I try to steal this land and sell it to Walt Disney World, and just trying to paint me in a negative light without even having all the facts, going off of what somebody else said, and somehow my name got thrown into the mix. Somebody who's not even related to me could have said it, but somehow my name got thrown into the mix, that I said it, that's my plan, that's my purpose. So you mean to tell me I would steal the land from my grandmother and her children when she has more of a rights to the property than me? Or steal the land from my grand aunts and uncles, who are my grandfather's brothers and sisters, living brothers and sisters? I will steal the land from them? What sense does that make? Now, granted, there are people out there that would do that, but if I'm being transparent about it, if I file a lawsuit along with my grandmother and her children to ask the court to quiet title to the property, or ask the court to do this, how am I stealing land? Now, if it was me and me alone, and I didn't notify my mother, I didn't tell my mother, I didn't talk to my family members and say, hey, I'm doing this, that's a different story. That's a different story. But when you try to do right, there's going to be opposition. There's going to be the naysayers and the haters and those that are jealous of whatever case may be. Feel some type of way about it. Like, this is ridiculous. But yet, there's the same individuals that filed a lawsuit against members of my family and took them to court over the false allegations of conspiracy, conversion, and everything else. Bad mouthing, trash talking my family, Ridiculous. Anyway, I think I've been here long enough, man. I'm just going to wrap it up and go talk to my family. There's my family I haven't seen in a few weeks, in a month or so. So I thank you for watching. Hope this video was educational. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share this video, leave a comment, and I'll see you in another video. Take care. Peace.